Hello everyone! This is Running on Empty Food Review. Well, hello ladies, gentlemen, and everyone watching. Welcome one and all to this newest edition of the Running on Empty Food Review series. I'm your host, the Report of the Week. Always a pleasure to be here. Let's get right into this. Arby's, for a limited time, has released a few new wraps. It's interesting that these are limited time offerings because, you would think something like a wrap is a pretty basic item and something that is generally a staple on the menu of places like Arby's. You could see them having a wrap for really an indefinite period of time. But nonetheless, these are pretty basic, and they are just for a limited time, so that's just something to be aware of. There are 3 types of wraps available. They're all chicken wraps, I should add. They have a barbecue chicken wrap, a honey mustard wrap, and then a ranch wrap. And I've just been personally curious about the barbecue chicken wrap. There have been instances where I've actually went over to some of these fast food places, not necessarily Arby's, but some big chains, and they'll have barbecue chicken wraps, and I'll find them to be actually quite enjoyable. So this is just an item that sort of piqued my interest. I thought, this sounds interesting, and I don't know how many people care about Arby's, but I'm personally interested in this one. Generally, these barbecue chicken wraps are pretty good. I've never had, of course, this one before, so it'll be interesting to try out, but I'm cautiously optimistic, keeping my fingers crossed. So the barbecue chicken wrap from Arby's, again, it's pretty basic. It's wrapped in a tortilla, of course, and it comes with lettuce, cheddar cheese, a chicken tender, and then a smoky barbecue sauce. Now, they're really incentivizing a 2 for $5 deal, where you could get 2 wraps. It could be 2 of the same ones or 2 different flavors for the price of $5. But if you just want this one wrap, then you'll pay about $3, $2.99, $3 for one wrap. But again, $5 for 2, that's the real deal that they're pushing here. 1 for $3. And this is what it comes in. Comes in wrapping right there. Take a quick little thumbnail. And you can see the Arby's logo, albeit an upside down Arby's logo right there. It says promo. And then unwrapping the wrap leaves us with, I suppose, the actual official wrapping, the tortilla. Again, just taking a little thumbnail shot. But you can see what it looks like, Now, granted, looks like any other wrap or even burrito. So there you go. And with that said, very basic item. I'm just going to get right into it now. The barbecue chicken wrap from Arby's, going in. All right, so sort of got a little excited, I guess, when I restarted the camera. As you could see, it was still sort of... Anyway, here's what it looks like. And what I'll do, real quick, you can see there's a cross-section of it. But what I'm actually intending to do, and why I didn't bother with this when I was still paused, I have no idea. I actually want to cut a formal cross-section, because it's something that I haven't done in a while. May as well, right? And here you go. This, I think, is a nicer looking look at the interior right there. When I took that first bite of this, I was apprehensive. We have to do the thumbnail. See, this is why I usually just do that separately. But anyway, I hope you were able to see that cross-section, though. So as I was saying, when I took that first bite of this wrap, I was a little apprehensive, because one thing that I sometimes notice is that, and this was actually the case when I tried out that chicken sandwich from McDonald's in the last review that I did, the chicken was real tough. And, it shouldn't be that way. Granted, you don't expect it to be some sort of mush either. It's just supposed to have a nice consistency to it. But it's certainly not supposed to be just tough and overcooked or anything. And as I took that first bite of this wrap, it initially seemed as though it could possibly be a little bit like that, because there was definitely that sort of resistance to it. But after I had the first bite, and then I started proceeding further as far as the wrap itself is concerned, I quickly realized that it's just because there is, it's a real crispy chicken tender, and it was just sort of the resistance from that, I guess, for lack of a better word. In short, I'm just trying to say that it wasn't like that previous chicken sandwich that I had from McDonald's, wherein there was that concern about it being overcooked and whatnot. It was just the crisp on the outside. I am pleased to say, thankfully, that this wrap is pretty pleasant, all things considered. And granted, I did go into this with higher expectations, and I'm happy to say that those expectations were met. Because a lot of the time, these sorts of wraps are very simple. The ingredients are pretty basic. For instance, as far as this wrap goes from Arby's, most of these ingredients are either so basic that you already know what to expect, in that the lettuce and the tomato are obviously, how much can you really do with that? It's going to taste like lettuce and tomato. And Arby's already has chicken tenders, and the smoky barbecue sauce, again, is something that you could already get from them. So all of these are established ingredients. And granted, when I go to Arby's, and sometimes I will, I actually am a chicken tender fanatic of sorts. I like my chicken tenders. And I especially like them with barbecue sauce. That, I think, is why I was sort of drawn to this particular wrap. And as a result, this is a combination from Arby's that I've already had good experiences with, that I've already had positive and pleasant results with. So I was thinking to myself, being that I already know that the quality of the chicken tenders themselves is generally decent, and being that I know that the barbecue sauce is generally decent as well, then how hard can it be to put it in a wrap and make that taste decent as well? And thankfully, to my relief, this is pleasant for what it is. Now, when I say that, it's not, don't go into this expecting the world. This is a very basic item. When you take a bite of it, you are going to notice the barbecue sauce right away. I would actually be willing to say that is one of the prevailing flavors as far as this wrap is concerned. That and the chicken, of course. You take the bite, and you will immediately notice the crunch of the exterior of the chicken tender, and it is quite crispy. It's crispier than probably many chicken tenders that you get. A lot of chicken tenders these days, they have the breading, but, there isn't too much of a real definitive crunch to it, whereas this chicken tender here, again, is definitely quite crunchy on the outside, But once you breach the outer layer, and I think a lot of people would probably like that from a textural standpoint, the inside, thankfully, and I'm sure as you could see, there's actually a decent amount of chicken for this one chicken tender. And all things considered, the quality of the chicken is actually pretty good, especially when you're figuring that this is just from Arby's. It's not necessarily going to be gourmet, although they do have the meats. But nonetheless, it's still decent, all things considered. It's flavorful. It's juicy. I would say it's cooked. It's cooked sufficiently, and then you have that barbecue sauce, which is rich in flavor. And while they say that it's a smoky barbecue sauce, there is a little bit of a sweet note to it as well, which is quite pleasant. And it pairs very nicely with the chicken. The barbecue sauce is not runny, it's not watery or anything. It definitely has a certain thickness to it. And again, it is quite flavorful, very thoroughly, in my opinion, coats the interior, and it pairs again quite nicely with the chicken. The slice of cheddar cheese is basic. It's there. It contributes a little bit as far as the flavor is concerned, as does the lettuce. And I don't know why I was saying tomato earlier. Who even knows? But the lettuce is fine for what it is. It's stringier, and granted, that's what Arby's generally uses as far as lettuce is concerned. But it's a little stringy, but it still has a crispiness to it as well. So it's not the highest quality lettuce in the world, but is it fresh? I would be willing to wager that it is, because again, it does have that fresh crisp to it as well. And all in all, this is a very basic combination. There's not all that much to it. I would say that, for one of these, this might be a pleasant snack for most. It's easy to eat, it's not messy at all. But then, of course, if you take advantage of the 2 for $5 deal, then it might end up being a little bit of a meal. But all in all, very basic, not a lot to talk about, but most importantly, it's pleasant. And again, I think it could suffice as a pleasant snack, or again, it could be a meal as well. But yeah, the barbecue sauce is definitely, I think, the star of the show here. Chicken quality is fine. A little crunchier than some might anticipate, but I don't see that as a drawback at all. It doesn't come across to me as overly oily or overly greasy. Barbecue sauce is good. All the other ingredients are basic, but it certainly suffices. So all things considered, I would say the barbecue chicken wrap from Arby's is actually pretty pleasant. It's not bad at all for what it is, I would say. Nice snack. I would be willing to say probably an underrated one at that. Especially factoring in, a lot of people don't really think all that much about Arby's at this point, unless it's like a big release from them, like some sort of special promo with the Wagyu burgers that they may have, for instance. I think a lot of people are going to be sort of passing on these. You just don't really hear many people talking about them, but I would say these wraps, it's easy to overlook because they seem so basic. It's like, yeah, it's a chicken wrap, so what? But I think they do a good job with them, so if it's something that you want to consider, I'd say don't pass it up. If you have an Arby's nearby and you're in the mood for maybe a chicken wrap, maybe get it while the getting's good, because these aren't going to be here forever. Limited time release, pretty affordable for what they are, and decent quality as well. So, being that they are pleasant tasting, and I really have no complaints, again, it's not gourmet, not the world's best thing, it's simple, but all things considered, I'm happy with it. So therefore, out of 10, I'm going to give the barbecue chicken wrap from Arby's an 8 out of 10, because all things considered, I think they did a pretty decent job. And with that, that's all that I have for you tonight. Thank you for watching, and until next time, I'm your host, The Report of the Week.